Okay, so this is the second phase of a fairly long running, like for the past couple of years, project to basically replace our existing metering system with a newer, more modern system. And we put together a really good team to accomplish this. So, first of all, we have Arcadis, who they provided us with a lot of technical assistance in evaluating our bids we received and also in developing technical proposals for the system we got. And as part of the whole bid review process, we ran a pilot project, and at the end of that, we ended up selecting Pedal Valve. They'll be supplying us with a Badger meter system. Pedal Valve will be the installer, and then USA is the vendor for Badger, so they'll be supplying all the meters. And then with us today, we have Ryan and Candace from Pedal Valve. Ryan's will be the project superintendent for this project. And the rest of Pedal Valve's team will be down here within the next couple of weeks. We're anticipating to start June 1st, or the week of June 1st, with meter installations. This project was conducted in two phases. We have the first phase, which is what the had like in the last year were about the box replacement, which is basically in preparation for this, we wanted to make sure we got all the old infrastructure out of our system, which which could cause issues with these more modern meters. We replaced all the old cast iron boxes and those old real thin kind of chintzy PVC boxes with newer traffic rated boxes and new mounting hardware just to make the whole meter installation process a lot smoother also. And then we're moving into the second phase of the project, which is the actual meter replacement. Installing meters based on cellular, that use cellular system for communication, and the meters themselves are ultrasonic, which I'll get into the advantages of that later on in the presentation. As far as paying for all this whole project was very expensive. It was on the order of $13 million for both the box replacement and the meter replacement. The whole thing was funded through a state revolving fund loan, which is a type of low interest loan offered by DEP to water utilities. And from the customer's perspective, the cost for this have already been figured into our utility rates. So in effect, you guys are already paying for it. You won't see any additional increases once this project's completed on top of what we've already what we're already charging. So just kind of to go over where we've come from, the box replacement phase one started in March and ended in December of 2025. Phase two is ongoing, and I think the next few slides are some greatest hits of what we ran into, just because there's some shocking stuff out there, roots, trees, and more roots. Next slide. So in preparation for awarding this contract to PVI, we held a bit of a contest to try to figure out which system we wanted to go with. So that was what the meter pilot project was. That ran from June 2025 and concluded in March 2026. As part of that, we tested multiple different meters from multiple different manufacturers listed on there: Badger, Neptune, and Master Meter. Based on price and overall system performance, we recommended that we award it to Badger Meter and Pedal Valve for the full deployment. And in comparison to what we currently have, so currently we have a Zenner system based off of what they call multi-jet and turbine meters. And would communicate on a fixed radio network on an unlicensed radio frequency. So this is a less than advantageous system to use because this system communicates on an unlicensed radio frequency, and basically everything else does. It's like your garage clickers, communicate on that. You have various types of radio. You can even get interference. Power lines and radar stations, I believe, also, and then the Zenner multi-jet meters, they're mechanical, they degrade over time. So in response to, identifying those issues, we're going with a newer system based on very modern technology. The Badger E-Series meters, got a picture of one up there. That's pretty representative of what will be installed in the box in front of your house. It's an ultrasonic meter. Basically, it uses sound waves to measure the velocity of water flowing through the meter. They are very accurate, and the accuracy doesn't tend to degrade over time because there's no moving parts in it. It'll all be communicating over a cellular AMI network, which has the advantage of much greater reliability than an unlicensed radio network because it communicates on a specific band cellular system uses. So we don't structure. Actually more powerful too, so they communicate a bit better. And also from the customer standpoint, Badger also produces a very powerful user portal called Ion Water, which I've got a QR code for that links to the login page for that, which once we've installed the meters, you can set up your account for that. So you can log in, you can view your usage. I believe you can even set up like alarms too.
You'll be able, and that's the beauty, that's kind of the second half, which we don't want to go too far into the weeds right now, because our focus is getting the meters actually in the ground. But the second half of this, which is really the exciting part for you as the end user, is to utilize this Ion Water and literally keep an eye on your water usage. You'll be able to log in, see these reads we get at certain intervals. You'll be able to see or put leak alerts, or to notify, like, hey, if you're a snowbird and you go up north during the winter, you'll be able to put in there saying, hey, I'm traveling north. And then that way, if we see usage or you see usage, you'll get notices of, hey, I'm not there at the house. Like, I had a huge spike. Something's going on. I need to call, my neighbor to go take a look and see something, what's going on. So it's going to give a lot of transparency and put this information in the hands of the end users. And that's really one of the big goals of this. Instead of relying, have to call in saying, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, I got my bill 2 months later, because we only bill every 2 months. Had I known this leaky toilet happened 2 months ago, I would have fixed it that day. So this Ion Water and these new meters, that is going to be a huge customer service side of this project that we're going to be pushing out later. But if you want, you can download the app, you can kind of play with it. We'll be pushing that out through communications and things like that later. Yeah. Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, it is their app. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So as soon as the meters get in and we register them through the system, you'll be able to go in and see and say, okay, this is my account at, whatever your address is, and look at those things. So we'll push out communications when that's all good and ready. Part of this is we've got to get our staff trained and make sure that they're aware of how to answer questions and what they're looking at the platforms. We did an analysis of the Ion Water platform as part of the review of all of these meters that we were contemplating. This one was the most user-friendly.
I can use it. Anybody can use it.
Okay. Bill says if he can use it, anybody can use it. So he likes to think he's technologically challenged, but anywho. So if you want to take a second and just note that or download the app, like I said, we'll push that information out more late down the road. I don't know.
Those are fairly sensitive, so even if you have a relatively slow leak, when you're out of town, should be able to detect it. I just want to kind of a picture of what the end product will look like with the meters seeing the box. Kind of just some graphics explaining what we're going to. Top one kind of explains how the cellular communication system, it's a schematic of how the cellular communication system works. Is basically all the data is picked up by the meter, relayed through the endpoint into the cellular network, and that's captured on the back end by Badger's system, which then relays it to us.
So one of the beauties, and Tom, you'll appreciate this, I know in your community, is our existing system. We've got a bunch of components on light poles throughout the district. Those are coming down. All of the communications of this is within this meter, within this endpoint. So that's going to be less infrastructure we have to maintain. We'll have out there exposure risks. All of this is housed in the meter, in the pits. So that is a huge added perk for us.
Directly with the cell towers, there's no reliance on, like Chelsea said, repeaters to bounce, all the signals around the communities. So all that stuff on the light poles is going away at the end of this. And then expected improvements. So this whole system we're going to is operating on what they call a network as a service model. So the vendor, basically, they set up all the infrastructure, and then they supply access to that infrastructure to their customers, meaning the district, as a service for a fee. The flip side of that is the AMI vendor is responsible for maintaining all of that. They're responsible for ensuring that our stuff, our equipment is communicating with their servers. We're not responsible for maintaining that communication infrastructure, so we're moving away from a lot of what's given us issues in the past, which is communication infrastructure, failing after a lightning storm or batteries on these repeaters running out or all that sort of thing. The ultrasonic meters themselves, they have no moving parts. They don't degrade in accuracy over time because the measurement isn't relying on any moving parts, which would lead to more accurate billing and also improved leak detection capabilities.
And I want to emphasize, if you all remember, we came in and for the most part around your meter boxes, we cleared the area, and we have a new rule in place that the board adopted. We want that clearance that, nothing on the boxes, nothing painted on the boxes. We don't want your statue, your water fountain, your frog, your anything. Now you understand why. Is because that communication has to get out through that box, and that's how we get those reads. It's sending that information out. We've asked that you maintain a 3-foot buffer around the box. So don't plant an orange tree or an oak tree, within 3 feet of the box. But that is why it's so important to have clear access of these boxes, not only for the communication, but also for our staff, our vendors, to access the boxes.
In terms of how we're going to be going about this meter replacement project, we're basically planning on just going through it in the same order that we did with the box replacement. So,
Pelican, you're first.
We're anticipating that this project will start in the week of June 1st. Like they said, it'll be a bit slow for the first week or so as the team gets themselves situated, but once they get into full swing, it's gonna go pretty quickly.
We anticipate it. So right behind Pelican, we've got Arborwood Phase 3. We've got coming to you, Tom, over there in Stony Brook, Villages of Stony Brook, and then moving over towards Hampton Park. And these folks are gonna be rolling. We did a lot of the legwork, a lot of the time-consuming work in advance, which is why we started this project, over a year ago.
So the mailers notifying area that the meter phase 1 is going to be occurring were sent out on May 12th.
Has anybody got one? It does not have a real name on it because what we found, the mailers are addressed to resident and then your address, because what we found is if we put that owner's name and it's wrong, post office isn't going to sell it. So if you just put to the resident, the postal service is going to sell it. So the comment that was made is that, I'm repeating your comment for those online because this is recorded, is that when we send mailers out that, especially if they're snowbirds, that they might not get the mail or it might not forward to their northern address or it may be delayed. Yes, we understand that. That's why we're hosting this town hall. That's why we're going to send email communications out to all of the HOAs, asking the HOAs to forward this along, just like what we did with the first part of the box project. But again, this is going to go so quick, truthfully, that, it's literally going to be a swap. So, but it's good to hear that you guys did get the mailers and that the Postal Service is picking up pace again, because I know there was some concerns there for a while. But to your point from earlier, we contemplated door tags. We said, no, we don't want door tags because we're going into out of season. And just from the feedback that we had heard prior, we don't want that to be a sign or signal that nobody's been there for months on end. So that's why we opted with the mailers, hoping it gets to the resident. But between all those other things I just mentioned, we're hoping you all can, also be the messengers back to your communities too.
The mailers were sent out to all the addresses that will have their meters replaced in phase 1, which, apart from all the phase 1 meter box replacement project locations, also includes all the pilot meter project sites that were assigned to the other 2 vendors, because we want to get those out of our system before they start charging us. Next slide. So the replacement process, just as a heads up, expect a brief. 12 is an oddly specific time. I think I meant to type 15. 15 to 30
You're going to be
minutes.
timed.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how'd you come up with that?
I'm going to be standing over you guys with a stopwatch. Okay, you're within the range. Service interruption during installation, just to allow the meter to be swapped out. The installer will attempt to make contact with the resident prior to the shutoff, just to ensure that they're not in the middle of taking a shower. Residential accounts, the resident doesn't need to be home in order for the installation to occur. I believe pedal valves, SOPs state that they'll be flushing after the meter's installed, just to ensure that any debris that may have entered the line get flushed out. Commercial accounts will have the opportunity to schedule installation, minimize disruption to operations. Once the installation is completed, just a heads up, just run your cold water tap for, I think, what's the recommended time, 30 seconds?
Cold water,
Yeah,
not hot, cold water.
Just to ensure air is completely purged from your house's plumbing.
So just the takeaway from this, residents do not need to be home. Commercial businesses will be contacted to schedule. If there's anybody who has any special circumstances or conditions, call the office, let us know. But for the most part, it should be very brief.
That concludes everything I had. Are there any questions from the audience? I could repeat the question for those that are online and recorded is, how many vehicles are anticipated? Was it like the meter box project with the train, what we called the train? There will not be a train. Each
installer will have their own vehicle. There might be one or two, but for the most part, it's one vehicle, maybe two at most, not the train. So minimal impacts as part of this. So the question was the CAM for the HOA, if the HOA has multiple accounts, will they be able to have one Ion Water account and just toggle to different accounts? You can link multiple accounts on Ion Water. We're not sure how many, but you can link multiple accounts. Leslie just responded. As long as you have the account number and the same email address is linked to all accounts. So that'll be kind of the second half of this project. So the question was, residents can open the lid now and see the numbers on the meter. Will they be able to do that in the future? I'm going to caveat it and say you really shouldn't be in the box. You did.
It's a digital reading.
It's a digital reading, so you'll be able to see. You will still be able to see the digital. It'll just be a digital number instead of that little toggle thing. The question is the boxes, as it rains, they fill up. We've done improvements that it's supposed to drain, but water still holds in the box, even with a 2.5-inch rain over an hour time span. Are the new meters, are they anti-water? Are they water friendly? Are they sealed? Yes.
All the electronic components are
Yes.
packed inside the housing, and they pour epoxy around it, and that seals it.
Yep. So the question is on conversion day, will there be an old meter read and a new meter read? Yes. All of that will be documented in what the contractor calls like their work order management system or their NIMS. The contractor has a work order management system, so they have to document the meter number, the meter reading before they pull it. They have to document the new meter number when they put it. They have to prove and provide all of this. They have their own internal QA/QC that they review of their reports from their installers before it even comes over to us, and we review it as part of the implementation into our system. So it's touching up to 3 at a minimum different sets of eyes for QA/QCing when we do this. So on your next water bill, you might see two different things. But yes, we're trying. We will have all of that information.
As far as for the meters, we are also storing them for a specific period of time. I believe it's 90 days. In case there's any billing questions after they're replaced, we can get back to it and actually have the meter in our hand and reference the reading that way.
The second half of your question was, as they finish, are we going to be sending notification out that we're finished? No. So they're going to be going so fast that is the point. That's why we did one major town hall for phase 1, because we intend this project hopefully to be done within 5 months, if not sooner, of the meter replacement. That's how quick this is going to go. Obviously, if rain happens, knock on wood, the H word, I'm not going to say because it's right around the corner, but, weather contingent, but we're intending 5 months, if not sooner, because we did all of the legwork in advance. So, this is your notice that we're coming. You'll see them. Maybe we can contemplate sending out a phase 1 is done. We're moving to phase 2, but they're starting June 1st in Pelican. So within the next 2 months, you're going to see them. They're coming. This is your notice. Anywho, any other questions from the crowd? We have somebody on call 24/7, and as part of this contract, they're required to have somebody on call as well. So yes, status quo is as every other day as a water consumer in the district, you call us, call the district. How many crews?
We're going to have 12 crews.
12 crews is the answer. So, and that's kind of the point of, hey, this is going to be quick. as quick as they can get those meters in here shipped. We've already taken shipment. They're doing training. They're doing their own QA/QC over the next week or two. All right, let me just recap a couple takeaways for you. We're starting June 1st. Flush with cold water. If you have issues, call us. Commercial accounts, scheduled. Residential accounts, not scheduled. Any questions? Appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you for coming. Hopefully you relay that back to your residents. Okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. We'll get all this online. We'll get the emails out ASAP. And again, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, anything, give us a call. Okay?